Hello.
Hey,
There you are. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I am calming myself down. I'm big into college football, and I was
Oh,
watching a game, and it was kind of a nail biter. And since I'm naturally an anxious person anyway, I get really invested. So
yeah.
luckily we won, but it was
Oh, that's
close.
good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did see your story, and I was like, oh, sports ball.
Yeah, yeah. Next week is for us like the big rivalry game. So
Uh, okay. Is it
we'll see how it
college?
goes.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's weird because like coming from California, like football is big, but it's more like the uh, what's the step above?
Oh, NFL.
Oh yeah, it's NFL that they like, but like living in the South, it's like college.
Hmm.
They're insane about
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, I grew up watching some NFL football, and I did have like a team I liked and all of that. But when I got with my husband, he was really big into college football, and so he got me into it. So I
it.
like
Yeah,
it better because it's kind of nice, like seeing the kids, their journey to getting to
yeah,
that next step and like seeing how it goes. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
I
what you
mean,
up to?
I am recovering.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I mean, recovering from. I just finished Spirit Halloween because I think when
Uh-huh.
we first talked, I was about to start that,
Yeah, yeah.
and I did, but it was like 3 months of grueling. I mean, building the stores and then doing the work, and then the week of Halloween was insane, and two of the other Spirit stores closed somehow, something with the fire marshal or whatever. But the two that were
Oh,
close to me, they closed, and so we did basically the business like three stores in one.
ooh. Ooh, yeah, that's
So
that's that's a lot.
yeah, and then I helped tear down four of the stores because
Ooh.
I'm insane. And that's very physical, and there's a lot of fixtures, and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a it's a process. And so
Yeah.
I'm banged up and bruised, and but I'm here.
Yeah, I've done
Eh,
that too. I've put them together, I've torn them down, and I'm also very clumsy and whatnot. So yeah, bruises,
oh,
cuts.
you worked for Spirit too?
No, actually, I worked retail, a different company, not
Oh,
Spirit, but
okay.
I also had to put together a store, take stores down. That actually happened to me a couple of times, having to take stores down from them closing, usually because of like
Yeah,
shoplifting, but
right. Yeah, it's wild because you don't really think about that, like when you're shopping there, and then it's like you work there, and you're like, oh, obviously this just doesn't pop up out of nowhere.
mhm. Mhm.
I keep saying that I'm going to win the Nobel Peace Prize because I'm going to invent a way to build the spirit quicker and with like less heavy material.
Hey, you know what? You are a very creative soul, so I wouldn't put it past you. I wouldn't put it past you.
I just want like an inflatable store and just press the button and there it is.
That would be
Um,
great.
yeah, yeah. This was my third year doing it, and I don't know. Like I always say never, but like it's
Mhm.
a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Um, and then also I'm recovering from last night because I pretended like I was in my 20s.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like I went to my favorite bar over here. It's called Mary's. It's a
Mary's.
queer
Uh-huh.
bar.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. And we then some friends were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the basement." I'm like, "I don't want to go," but I did. And then danced at the basement. And then my friend that I was with was like, "Hey, let's go to 10." It's like, so yeah, we went there, and then I got home at like almost 4.
Yeah, I'm tired just listening to you say that. I stayed out till like 11 last night, and I was it was time for me to go to bed way before that.
What what did you wind up doing?
We just went to dinner. We have a friend that's visiting from out of town, somebody that moved away. So we went to dinner, and yeah, we got back home. It was like 11 o'clock, And I was like, oh, no wonder why I feel tired. I don't stay out this late anymore. So,
Yeah, I think ever since like the whatever spirit assignment job whatnot ended, I've just like I'm like I have time, and it's so I'm just like trying to do as much as I can before I have to go back to regular life. Hopefully
mm-hmm.
that'll happen soon. Um, we'll see. I mean, now that the strike is over, hopefully everything's gonna kick back.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that for you. You know, I do like I tell you, I do listen to the episodes, so I keep up to date. That's why I was like, "Oh yeah, I know where you
Oh,
went. You went to Mary's." So so but
yeah.
talking to you occasionally and listening to the episodes, I'm like, "Oh, I know what's going on. I know what's up."
Oh, that's so sweet. I think it's cool. It, I when I first had the idea for this, I wasn't sure about like even doing it,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, who the hell is gonna listen? And then today I looked, and I'm like, 300 listens. That's good. I like
That's
that.
awesome. I know. I know.
So
That's great.
it's fun.
Yeah.
And then I've been trying to get really lofty and like asking like bigger people, like like I think I asked Martha Plimpton and she didn't respond or read it yet, but I'm like all these people, I'm like, please be on my show.
That's great though. You know, you're not going to know unless you try, right? So
Yeah,
go
I still haven't
ahead.
heard back. I still haven't heard back from Madonna's makeup artist, but oh well, it's fine. He's a sweet guy, but he's probably busy. She's on tour and all.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, I'm proud of you for reaching out. You're better than me. I always feel nervous about asking anybody, and like my friends, some of my friends are like, "Yeah, I totally want to be on." And I'm like, "Okay, are you sure?"
Yeah.
So,
I thought I put a Facebook post and I asked people if they wanted to be on, and I got some responses, but then like some of the people I was uh, like I don't know, like some I don't just want to have everybody.
mhm,
Um, I don't know. What I find interesting too is like talking to people that I don't quite know,
mhm,
because that way it's like just you're getting more from them and you can discuss things that their points of views on everything rather than just oh yeah, you're my friend, I've known you forever and I know everything about you. And
yeah,
I mean that's
yeah.
fun too.
I get what you're
uh
saying. It's just a little different, you know. And
yeah.
listening to, I feel like sometimes when every episode that you hear of something is people who obviously have like known each other forever, it can get a
Hmm.
little stale because it's kind of like a lot of times they're talking about things that both of them already know. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I went here yesterday, and it's like, oh yeah, I know because we like went together. Like,
right.
all right.
And there's a lot of like inside jokes and things like that. So,
Right. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm
that's true.
I'm just that I'm fascinated by it. Also like just being able to like it's lift people up or
Mhm.
promote them or whatever. I
Mhm.
keep telling if people have things to if they have a podcast or a book or whatnot, I'm like I'll just whore you out. It's the least I could do.
Right?
It's it's
Yeah.
it's less about me. It's not a vanity project because like I don't know. I mean, it's yeah, I can be vain sometimes, but it just I don't know to help people, and I think that that's part of why we're here on this earth. If you could do
Mhm.
some good,
Yeah,
so
totally.
I
Yeah.
know.
We're I don't think that we're put on this earth just to like take up space and
Yeah,
and then die, you know. Hopefully we do something good while we're here.
yeah,
You know, that's part of I always wondered what I was supposed to be here for, and I always wanted to be a mom, and like that didn't happen. So then I was like, all right, well, why am I here? I thought I was supposed to like get married and be a mom, and I'm married, but I'm not a
right,
mom. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I don't know. I still yet, but just like you said, like with my primary podcast, my solo podcast,
hmm,
I just kind of started it during the pandemic, and I was like, well, if anybody listens to it, that's cool. I'm kind of like
yeah,
you. I usually don't like go off of a particular like theme or whatever. Like sometimes we do,
Yeah.
but I don't have like a bunch of stuff written out or anything like that. And
Yeah.
my I just kind of wanted people to realize that we're all human and
Mhm.
that the whole concept of like, oh, you're weird, like how insensitive and ridiculous it is because all of us like things that other people may not.
Mhm.
So, you know, some people have listened to it. I don't really know how many plays that I have. I don't think it's 300. So, you've
I mean,
definitely killed it in a short amount of time.
well, does yours have like a tracker or like what is it called? The I can't even think of the word. It has a
It
thing like that says like where people are from, the age range, like the
mhm.
gender, all that.
Yeah. Yeah, it has the analytics thing. I just don't
That's what it's called, analytics.
I don't pay much attention to it. I guess I should, but
I check it
um
maybe like once a week just out of curiosity, and I'm also curious
yeah.
too, like which episodes have gotten the most plays, and
Mhm.
some of them I'm really surprised that like they've not gotten a lot of uh, listens. So I don't know, but some are hit or miss, and it's fine. I just I feel bad too for like sometimes if I'm talking to somebody and I'm trying to promote them or pour
Mhm.
them out, as I say. Um, like I'm just like I don't know, but I mean it's a process. It's been good because like I started writing the book during the pandemic. I haven't written in quite a while, but
Mhm.
I feel like this is like an offshoot of that because a lot of the things that I mean, and I've even read some from the book,
Yep.
like the other standalone episodes. The that was
Yeah.
I read a chapter, but the problem was is just it got weird because I was reading about rape,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
my phone was on, the sound was on, and I got a grinder notification, and I was like, that's terrible. And
Yeah,
I
I
just started
remember you said
laughing, and I was
that.
like, what a time, what a fucking time to like have that go off when
Right.
I'm like having a moment. I was like, I'm not gonna read it.
Yeah,
So
I get that. I mean, I like I told you, I've just been so proud of you and like just rooting for you and
oh,
all just because somebody has to say something, right? Like somebody's got to stand up and somebody's got to make it okay to be who you are, to share things, to show that we're all different, but we're all the
hmm,
same, right? And
yeah,
I know that even like before, the first time when we chatted, I just immediately like knew your heart and you're such a great-hearted person and I just I can't wait to hear more from you and everything that you're going to be doing. Like you said, whether it's just using the podcast as an extension, or if you
hmm,
decide to publish your book, or if you decide to do whatever you're going to do, offshoots, whatever you're
yeah,
going to do, I'm here for it. And what you did read, the episode that you did do with your reading,
hmm,
I loved, and I love how you said that it's your book is just kind of free flowing and that you were having a
yeah,
hard time trying to define it into chapters. And I thought
uh-huh,
about it and I think that's really beautiful though, right? Because there's an honesty in that to where you're like, "Oh,
right,
I'm not going to just um put labels on these experiences and block them off
mm,
into chapters." So even if you
yeah,
just did that, like just release the book as just a free flowing memoir. I think that's a
yeah,
cool idea. I think that's
yeah.
cool.
I do need to someday pay somebody to edit it because it is. I've tried to do it myself, and it's hard just going back in certain sections, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
but um, I mean, but it's hard and it's good at the same time. I don't know. It's my story is just weird because I know things happened when I was a kid. I don't know what. I
Mhm.
have very much, I call it like Swiss cheese memory.
Mhm.
And I know that's very common with trauma. My last therapist, she specialized in abused children, and
Mhm.
So everything that I told her, she's like, "Yep." I'm like, "Uh-huh." I said, "But I don't know." And I just, there are all these weird clues and things and pieces, but everyone that would know anything is probably dead by now. Because, I waited until my 40s to really dig deep.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, but it's I think one of the reasons why I didn't want to write it, first I was like, well, nobody's going to want to read it. And then second, I was like, well, I don't really have like there's not like a tell, I guess. Like there's no like, oh, so this, I was, either abused or molested or this or that when I was little. I was like,
Mhm.
something happened, I don't know.
Right.
All I know is I wasn't a normal kid. I had very abnormal behavior, and I mean, eventually, I may get into that on the podcast, but that's stuff that like is really like difficult to talk about. And I just like
Mhm.
my best friend of God since '89, we just discussed that. Like she's just finding out about a lot of this stuff when I was a kid, so it's just, and it's very like it's in the book and it's very vulnerable, but I think the more I'm able to talk about it with people, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. That makes total sense, and that just shows that you've already done so much work on yourself,
mhm,
and you're
yeah.
continuing that. And I think that I know that you were saying, hoping to inspire other people,
Hmm.
and you're doing that. Um, you're doing that, and I'm just here for it. I'm such
Oh,
a big like cheerleader to the people that
oh, I love that though. That's
that
great. Thank you.
I adore. Yeah. And I'm just like speechless in the sense that you know, I think that we all go through different experiences, and a lot of times we just bottle them up,
Hmm.
we lock them away, and we just leave them there forever.
Yeah,
And there's something to be said when people are willing to do the work to try to figure out those little missing pieces.
yeah.
And so I just commend you for it. And I know with me, there are things that I definitely would like to get back to therapy and
Hmm.
work on. And hearing like what you're doing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should get back to journaling. I should get
Yeah.
back to writing things down. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I
so
have all my journals from like 15 on, and that was very helpful for writing the book. And it's just it's good for research, but it's also just good as an outlet.
yeah, yeah. I'm one of those people, I usually like write something down when I'm really, in my sad feelings, or I'm like
Hmm.
mad, then that's when I write. But I tried
Yeah.
for a little bit at the beginning of the year to kind of write like 5 different things of gratitude every day,
Hmm.
and that lasted for a little bit, and then and then I stopped doing it. So I
You're just
need
not
to.
grateful anymore.
I'm just not grateful anymore. I'm like, I said I'm grateful for everything. Um, but yeah, so maybe I need to get back into that. I mean, I used to do like poetry. I used to write songs. I used to write stories. Um,
Hmm.
all of that, and that faded out. I'm trying to. I think I kind of got back into podcasting to try to get back into that creative side of me, and
Hmm.
so maybe like listening to you and like what you're doing, maybe I can get myself back into getting those creative juices flowing,
Yeah,
and
it's hard. It's hard to like, because I don't know. I think probably people who aren't creative probably have a hard time getting that, but it's like just if there's not a switch, just to like,
mhm,
inspire you and get you motivated. And sometimes you just life just gets you, it exhausts you, and then you're just like, I
mhm,
don't feel like it. I'm not gonna do it.
mhm. Yeah, that's me in the gym. The gym and
Yeah.
I like go to the gym for a little bit and then something happens. Either I get sick, something personal, and then I'm like, ooh, and then I crash down into, the good old cave of sad feelings and
Hmm.
whatnot. I'm a bit, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a really anxious person about a
Yeah.
lot of things. So sometimes I just kind of fall into that cave and I just from
Yeah.
everything. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like sometimes I just get hit and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh," and I just start writing and I can't stop
Hmm.
writing and it's just there. And then other times it's not. So the idea of sat down and wrote this, I'm just like, "Wow,
Hmm.
that is awesome. That's inspiring." Just like Taylor Swift. You knew that was coming. You knew I was
I
going to have
knew
to
she was
mention
coming.
Taylor.
I knew she was going to make an appearance.
you, you knew I had to mention Taylor. Um,
I know.
but yeah, just like her during the pandemic, when she wrote her two albums during the pandemic, Folklore and Evermore,
Yeah.
you listen to them and you're just like, wow, that's absolutely amazing. Like, how did you come up with that? And
Yeah. And those are the only two that I really dig. Like the rest are okay, but like those two,
mhm,
yes, those spoke to me, especially
they,
Champagne Problems.
oh yeah, they're definitely a different level. Um,
Hmm.
she says the different eras and whatnot. So they are definitely like, as she would say, like quill pen songs, like full of quill pen songs. Um,
Hmm.
Very intricate and beautiful pieces of work. And I kind of feel like just from the piece of your book that you read, it was also very beautiful and also very haunting. And I was just like, wow, I was really enthralled. Like I'm listening at the gym and and I was just like, like, okay, don't have a sad face on or don't have this face
Oh,
on because people are gonna look at you and be like, what the hell's wrong with you? But at the same time, I just was sucked in and just listening to you and just your voice um is great. That's why I knew, like, for a podcast, like, amazing. You have that voice. You have that voice, you
it,
suck people in.
it's so funny though because it's like when I got over it really quickly, but like the first episode I did, and then I listened to it back, and I was like, oh my God. And now I'm just like, it doesn't phase me anymore. I'm just so used to it. But I do
Mhm.
notice when I talk in like just in my day to day life to anybody, like I'll say something and I'll know how that sounds.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah. It
this is
is
kind of weird.
it is odd, like, when you first start listening to your stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I on several episodes of my personal podcast, um, I would start to be like, "Okay, well, I say like a million times. I say like a million times." I'm like, "Try not to do that."
Mhm.
But I know the way my anxious brain works, and it's
Yeah.
hard for me not to, because it's just my vocal process.
Oh yeah. I have a really horrible habit of saying like a lot, but I think part of it is because I'm from California.
Oh, well, I
So,
have no
and
excuse then.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the word, and I like the word fuck too. I say that like I'm, I'm one that shouldn't be around children. Um, because yeah, I have a really bad mouth, and it's
I
sometimes
I
I
do
can't
at
even help it.
times.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just like a reflex. Like I notice if I have one of those giant sneezes, I'll sneeze and I
Mhm.
go motherfuck. It's almost like Tourette's, but it's not. Like I know I'm doing it, and but it just happens.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just your natural thing.
I
Yeah.
know. I do like that word though. What's your favorite word? Not necessarily swear word.
I don't think I've ever
Do you have a
I
favorite word?
I don't think I've ever thought about my favorite word.
See, I usually ask this like of guys that I'm interested in, but I'm like, it is interesting getting to know. Like, I have a series of getting to know you questions that I
That's
always
a
ask, but it's always fascinating to know what people's favorite. Because I like to ask questions because it makes you think, and
it
especially if you're,
does.
if you're trying, especially when I'm on the apps and trying to holler at a guy, and then he's like, I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, no, that is wow, that's a really great question.
Well,
Uh,
mine is it's sporadic. I love sporadic.
okay.
I love crepuscular, which is like the
Ooh.
period. I think it's the period between dawn and dusk.
Oh.
I heard that on the radio, like NPR, like years ago when we were driving cross country, and I was like, I love that word.
Yeah, I've
And
never
and
heard that.
of course, fuck is a good one too.
Okay. And man, I'm okay. Hmm. Maybe
I,
hmm.
I mean,
I'm
I'm
gonna have
putting
to
you on the
think
spot.
about that. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. I always ask people like their favorite word, their favorite movie, favorite book. Um,
yeah.
you
Now,
know,
like favorite movie, I know. So for me, my favorite movies, my two favorite movies are The Dark Knight and The Greatest Showman are my two top movies.
interesting choices.
What about you?
Isn't the Greatest Showman? That's the one with Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. It's good. I enjoyed it. I wasn't, I wouldn't put it in my like top. My favorite movie ever is The Color Purple,
Mhm.
hands down. 'Cause it's everything. It's,
Yeah.
it's funny, it's sad, it's emotional, there's I don't know, it's amazing. Um I could watch that all the time. And then the book was incredible too. But I think my favorite book is American Gods by Neil Gaiman.
I definitely haven't read that.
It's so good. It's long, but it's good. I mean, the whole concept is that they're these old gods, like from, you know, everywhere across the globe, and then they're the new gods, which are like media and what's the technology and
Sounds really
they're
interesting.
yeah, there's like this war between the gods, and basically how like we worship, our TVs and all these things that the modern equivalent of gods or
Mhm.
worship. And it's really interesting, and all these gods are dying out because people are forgetting about them. And I don't know, they made a TV show out of it, which was good until like the third season, and then I guess it's just they're not bringing it back.
That's what I was about to say is this sounds kind of familiar to me, and then that might
Yeah,
be why. Maybe I heard about the show or something and didn't know the title.
yeah. No, it's real good. I'm still amazed that in the show they were able to do this one scene in the book that I was like, there's this character named Bill Quiz, who's uh I'm gonna get my geology wrong, and it's okay.
It's all
I want to
good.
say
Safe
I
space.
want I want to say Egyptian, but she's amazing, and she's like a goddess of love and sex, I believe. And she like is basically just like a nymph where she just like you know has sex with all these people. And
Mhm.
uh in the book there's this part where she uh, is having sex with this guy, and he appears to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually she just devours him with her vagina. Like he just goes up in
Oh,
her, and then she just like turns all like she gets kind of younger, and that's how she gets her power. And
oh,
but they did
interesting.
that in the show, and I was like, holy crap, they pulled it off.
Ooh, nice.
It's good though, but and I always liken myself to her, even though like I'd rather have like relationship and a boyfriend and everything. I am a very
Mhm.
sexual person, and so I feel like sex is sometimes power, and it's almost like
Mhm.
um currency. That's terrible, but you know what I mean.
I I gotcha. I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay,
um,
so The Color Purple. I remember I saw The Color Purple what feels like a
mhm,
million years ago. So
yeah,
I I feel like I remember bits and pieces of it, but not the whole thing. And I did see that the adaptation is coming out. And so that
Yeah,
when I watched I guess it was a teaser trailer, and it looked good. So I was like,
yeah, it
oh, I
looks
should
really good.
watch that. I should watch that. I still haven't watched the new Little Mermaid yet. So
Oh, it's good. It's cute. It definitely, I mean, people made too much of a fuss, but they like to do that.
as they
Um,
do, yep, as they do.
but it's important because it's representation. So
Exactly, exactly. Look at all those beautiful children now
yeah,
that, can say, "Oh, she looks like me."
yeah,
Um,
for
and
sure.
it's kind of crazy as you grow up and then you realize these things that you didn't realize when you were little, because I know personally when I was little, and I dressed up like the Little Mermaid for Halloween and all of that, and I didn't think about or didn't realize, like, oh, but this little girl, when she looks at the Little Mermaid, when she looks at Ariel, she doesn't see herself as Ariel because of X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah,
then you grow up and you see these things and you're like, oh wow, like, oh shit, like then it all starts coming down and you're like, oh yeah, this is an issue. So
yeah,
I'm very pleased that more representation is coming across
yeah.
the board. We're
Oh
not where we
yeah.
need to be. We're not where we need to be,
No,
but at least we're making steps, right? So
yeah. I
happy
mean, it's
about
gonna
that.
take a minute. I mean, it's like I on my last episode, when I talked to John Devilman, who has a book called Dude Looks Like a Lady, and it's a lot about um, gender, and he recreates these photos of uh, female presenting people, and is
Mhm.
because it's more of like what is a man, what is a woman, and why can't a male presenting person dress as such, and
Mhm.
then I guess he originally did it to piss off his family, but then it became bigger, and so I just thought that was really cool. And like I told him, I didn't really feel like I had any representation when growing up. Like
Mhm.
all the gay people that I saw on TV, it was all like a parody, or it was comic relief, or the wacky
Mhm.
best friend, and I didn't feel like we we were real, or we were just meant to be made fun of, or the butt of a joke. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until my so-called life when I saw
Mhm.
Ricky Vasquez, Wilson Cruz.
Love
Um,
him. Love
yeah,
him.
a friend of mine got me one of those cameos, and she sent it to me, and so he did one for me, and it just like made me scream. She's like, "You need to be sitting down. I have something for you."
Yeah, I
And
think you told me
it was
that.
cool. Yeah, I think I put it
Awesome.
on. I think I put it on my. Did I put it on my Facebook? I don't. Not Facebook. Instagram. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Possibly.
But
I don't know. That's how
yeah,
I am too. I don't know anymore. Sometimes I post a picture and I didn't realize I posted the picture like a year ago or something. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like,
I
I
know.
forgot. I
I
forgot.
know. And then I've just gotten to the point where like it's fine if I'm tired and I don't keep up with certain things. Like I was
Right. Like,
doing the movie and the album of the day, and then I was doing Halloween, and I just totally dropped the ball, and I was like, I'm tired. I didn't make it this year. I
yeah,
tried.
and that's all you can do, right? We just try to do our best every
Yeah,
day, and wherever we get, that's where we're at.
yeah. Well, just work just killed
Okay, we
that
talked
for
about
me.
favorite movie. We talked
Uh-huh.
about your favorite book. Do I have a favorite book? I don't think I necessarily have a favorite book, but my favorite authors are Edgar Allan Poe, of course.
Nice.
And that's actually really cool because we share a birthday. I found that
Oh,
out.
nice.
And then
Mm,
probably, I guess I would probably say Jane Austen, because I I'm so bad with both of them. I have several copies of the same stuff. And
yeah.
my husband's like, "What? Why do you have?" why do you need multiple? And I'm like, but look at this one. Like, look at the,
Yeah.
look at look at the
Yeah.
inside.
I know.
Look at the front.
Yeah.
But
I've honestly, I've never actually read anything by Jane Austen, and it's probably terrible, but
no, no,
uh,
no, no.
I mean, I'm aware. I know who that is.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's not for everybody.
yeah.
I'm one of those people who are really into like period piece film and whatnot too. So
Yeah.
that's not for everybody. Like I tried to get my husband to watch, oh, what was it? I don't remember, but one of the like period piece films, and he was like, I cannot. He was like, I cannot. And I said, okay, I respect that, and I let him do his own thing. We have some
Yeah.
similarities, but a lot of differences. So I watch my period piece stuff alone. So my Keira Knightley stuff, I watch by myself.
Now, is
But
your husband into horror as well?
no, he is not
Oh.
at all. His extent of horror was like he watched Paranormal Activity
No.
when that came out in the movie theaters, and he was like no. And so he's seen that, and he saw like Jeepers Creepers,
Yeah.
and he was scared of that. So yeah, no, he's not into that at all.
Yeah.
He watched Midnight Mass, so he did watch that um with me, but that
Mhm.
was all. He was like, why did I watch this? He's like, no. So no, that's something I do on my own, in my own
Yeah.
time.
I still haven't seen Midnight Mass. I'd like to. I don't know what's stopping me. I still need to finish. I
Oh,
watched like one episode of Fall of House of Usher, and that was good.
I did watch that. I watched the whole thing, and
Yeah.
based off of Poe, so I loved it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen The Midnight Hour, and I haven't seen um what is it, Bly Manor? Uh,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen I haven't seen that one either. So I'm a horrible Flanagan fan right now because I haven't seen those. But same thing. I don't know what's stopping me. I just haven't gotten to them yet. Well, maybe with Midnight Hour because it only got one season. Maybe that's
Mm,
what's stopping me with that. But
maybe. Yeah.
yeah. So, but
Yeah.
I
I
I
don't know.
I love horror. I love horror.
I do. I do love it. I don't feel like I watch enough of it. I mean, 'cause like I don't know. I have mostly psychological horror is my favorite out of
Mhm.
them all. I'm not
Mhm.
wild about like jump scares and like super gore. I mean, it's fun
Mhm.
sometimes. Like I like watching a lot of like the B movie, like the ones like Elvira would host and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I love Elvira.
Of
So
course.
I guess I'm more on the like campier,
Mhm.
gothier sort of um side of things.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I
I do love the classics, of course. Like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, etc.
Well, Halloween, the original, is my
Oh
third
well, yeah.
favorite movie. So,
Oh
and that's very pumpkin spice of me, but yes, it's my
yes.
it's my third favorite movie. Um,
Well, I do love that movie, and I love making fun of Jamie Lee Curtis too. I
oh,
just love going, Tommy, open the door.
Tommy, Tommy. Yeah, yeah. I I love Jamie Lee Curtis. She is something else. But I
Yeah,
do love Laurie Strode.
yeah,
But yeah, I like all of it. I do love psychological horror because, I think as I've mentioned to you before, I'm one of those people, like I'm all about the details, and
mm,
I'm all about like the Easter egg.
yeah,
I like surface level stuff, but I like things that make you think harder. And
yeah.
even socially, which it's crazy to me. Like that's why I said I know your heart. I see your heart. I feel your heart because a lot of times socially it takes me a while to really like talk to people and feel
Hmm.
comfortable with people, and I just feel really comfortable with you And I'm usually more of a sit back and like watch the body language and like pay
Right.
attention to what people are saying and all
Hmm.
of that. So I guess that's partially why I am that way with art, with
Yeah.
media. Like of course I love Jordan Peele's
Hmm.
uh movies, Get Out, Us. Nope. I don't really see so much as like a horror movie. Um,
Yeah.
but we could throw it in there a little bit. Um,
I haven't seen Nope. I've actually not seen Get Out, but everybody ruined it for me. So I did see Us,
oh,
and I loved Us.
yes, yes. I'm sad to hear that they ruined Get Out for you. I mean, I still hope that maybe one day you'll watch it anyway
Yeah. I
because
mean, I probably will.
yeah, because I feel like um I don't want to make an assumption about the people who either talked to you about it or like shared information about it, but maybe they didn't catch. So you still may find like little treasures in there that you pick up on your own that they didn't
Yeah.
ruin for you. So if you
Yeah.
do watch
Yeah.
it,
People.
let me know what you think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I will eventually. Just sadly, with social media, it just ruins it. That's why, like,
Mhm.
with the Madonna tour, like, we joked around about like not looking at spoilers. And I'm like, there's no
Yeah.
frigging way.
Yeah,
I have to log
it's
out.
yeah, it's hard. I remember I was trying to dodge things for the Eras tour. Um and I did pretty good. But yeah, it was hard. There were certain things, and then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? Whatever. Like, I'm just gonna see it anyway. Who cares? Um,
Yeah. Um,
but
yeah,
it's
I
hard. You're
tried.
right.
But like as soon as like the first show happened in London, we were all like, "All right, here's the set list and here's all the and the
Yeah, right.
costumes." I'm like, "Screw it," because like our show's until April 1st.
I know. I know.
That's
I was so
such a long
excited
way
for you, and
away.
then it got pushed, and so,
Yeah,
which rightfully so, you
yeah,
you want her
yeah.
you want her to be healthy and safe and taking
Mhm.
care of herself. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, that's hard when you're waiting a long time to begin with, and then it gets pushed.
I
So,
know.
but I,
Yeah,
I
but
can't I can't wait to hear you talk about it though when it happens because I've
I
never I know
know.
you've seen her. I haven't seen her before.
Yeah,
I
and
haven't
she's
I
amazing. You should just go see her. It's the greatest hits tour, so she does everything.
Yeah, I think she
You want to
comes
talk about
here.
Eras?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing, of course. As I know you mentioned before, I definitely can't remember which episode it was. But
Oh,
when you were talking about how she always gives people their flowers when she's inspired by them and whatnot, and that's something that the up and coming, I hate using the word younger, so I'm trying not to use that. The up and coming artists um
mhm.
can definitely learn from. And
Yeah.
I do think that some of them do a fairly good job of it, but I know you were talking about that there were certain uh different artists. I think you mentioned like a painter or something, and then maybe an author, I believe, that you heard about because it was somebody that she
Oh,
mentioned that inspired her.
yeah. Like I know Frida Kahlo, I know Jean-Michel Basquiat, I know Keith Haring. They're all artists. I know them because of her. I
Yeah, which
know
is so cool.
a lot of movies and a lot of because I mean and it's almost like Easter eggs because it's like there's no she's not saying that she created any of the things that she does pays homage
Mhm.
to, but
Yeah.
it's just there are a lot of videos with nods and winks and things and
Mhm.
but I just feel like it's neat to be educated. Like I know Joni Mitchell because of Madonna. Like I would have figured
Mhm.
out Joni Mitchell obviously, but Madonna was like, yeah, Court and Spark was my favorite album growing up, and I was like, I need to listen to this, and it wasn't just because she liked it, but I was like, I just need to check it out, and then I was like, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. And I know that there are some artists that do that as well. They kind of share the things that they
Mhm.
enjoy and what inspires them, but I
Yeah.
believe there are some that don't necessarily, and maybe that's something that they could look at doing because, like you said, education is great. And if
Yeah.
you have a big fan base, it would be nice to maybe
Right.
show them, especially these, I will use younger in this sense, but younger fans,
Yeah.
show them a little bit more, especially about the classics. Because
Yeah.
I tell you, that's a heartbreaker for me. Like when you talk to somebody who's younger and you reference something and they're like,
Mhm.
"What? Like who's like who what?" And you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm heartbroken because this is so amazing." Like off the top of my head, I know I've mentioned Boys to Men to somebody who was younger and they were like, "I don't know who that is." And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
like
It's
like
weird.
no. So, yeah, it's definitely something, when this whole thing about eras with Taylor came along and that's what they started calling it. I Of course you think of Madonna
Mhm.
and the different, the different eras that she went through and the different things that she was able to do. And I just think it's beautiful to see all of these different artists like
Mhm.
reinventing themselves and trying new things
Yeah, because
and
it would get really boring. Like I don't think
stale.
Madonna would have that career if she just did like little like poppy, happy. Because like in the beginning, I always say it was like her Pop Tart era where she was
Mhm.
just like
Mhm.
she didn't really have a lot to say, and she was just fun dance music. And if she would have stayed that
Right.
way, then it would have been boring. I mean, she would have been a one hit wonder.
Yeah, she was doing what they wanted her to do in the beginning because,
Yeah,
that's what happens, right? And then we learn
yeah,
and we be like
yeah.
Madonna, and I'm going to use your word, and then we're like, fuck this.
Exactly.
And then you start, learning about yourself and doing what you want to do. And I
Yeah.
think that's great.
I
I
just
think it's awesome.
I just think it's wild that she knew she was going to be famous like from day one. Everybody said that she used to behave that way like she was even before she was famous, and it's like that's just determination. She's a total Leo.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that, right? You have to be the one to grind and to push. On
Mm,
YouTube yesterday talking about country artists, how they had been on The Voice and like American Idol and they didn't make it on those shows, and how now they're
mm,
big. Like they were talking about like Luke Combs, Colin, um, Kane Brown, and this artist who I guess is up and coming now, Ray Lynn, and talking about how either some of them actually made it on the show and then how some of them they really didn't make it past like the producers. And I know
mm,
with like Morgan Wallen, for instance, he got on the show. He was able to actually be on the show. They wanted him to only do pop music, but he wanted to do a country song.
mm,
So they were like, "No, you do pop and that's it." So
mm.
that was done, and then he went on to become who he is now, a big country artist. And I do think that sometimes, they try to pigeonhole these artists and tell them, well, this is what you're going to be, this is what you're good at, you stay here. And
Right.
it takes that fight and that confidence to know who you are and what you can
Mm,
do, and to try different things. And so I'll have to show you the picture. I think I have it on my Instagram somewhere, my
mm,
other one, but I'll have to show you. So I did like a little photo shoot when I was little, like when we
mm.
moved to the city I live in now, and I was pretending to be Madonna. So
Oh,
I was doing all these different poses and whatnot. So I have to show you that. But from a young age, I just saw her as this bad bitch, and
yeah,
just this energy. And I owe that to my sister really because we're apart. And so
yeah,
she handed down the Madonna cassettes to me, and
mm,
and whatnot. So I got to kind of learn Madonna through her, and
yeah,
she's just been this force. I mean, and look at all of these years that have gone by, and she's still here, and she's still
I
that
know
bad bitch. It's crazy.
it's just it is weird that it's been 40. It's weird to be alive for all of it. Because I remember when she came out, and I was like, "Who the hell is this?" And then I, of course, liked her in secret because I couldn't, especially with things like a Virgin. My mom was not thrilled. Um,
Yeah, I know you said that.
but and it is weird because I have all these people that are like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I'm debating on seeing her." I'm like, "See her." Because she doesn't ever do a greatest hits tour. This is not something she does. She's not very
Mhm.
retrospective at all. She doesn't look back. She just keeps moving forward. And so
Mhm.
this is, it's like, it's weird because she started planning this long ago, but then she got sick and then it made it even more pertinent.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I'm excited because we're going to be in the frigging pit and holy crap.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I cannot wait to hear about that experience. I hope that you are going to do an episode about it. Um,
um,
maybe
now that I, now that I think about it, well, before, like there's a pre-party or whatever at the venue, like for the
Mhm.
VIP people. I'm like, maybe
Mhm.
I should do an episode there.
Oh, do it. Do it.
It'd be
Um,
kind of fun.
I think that's awesome. You know what I still haven't gotten around to it. I was going to do an episode with the girls that I went to the Eras tour with, my friends.
Hmm.
And just different things have happened. People have gotten sick and whatnot. So we haven't gotten to do it, but that would be really cool. Like if you got to talk to somebody else who like went
Yeah,
at the same time as you or went to a different
yeah.
show or whatever, just to talk about the different things that you felt, that you saw, maybe there were little differences that you picked up on. That's always kind of a cool
Yeah,
thing to do.
I know. I may have to tap Wayne to do that. He was the one that from Madonna Get Together podcast. Um,
Mhm.
he went
Mhm.
to the he went to the opening show in London.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I wish I'm like my credit card limit isn't that high.
Oh, yeah.
Have
I
to
mean,
sell a kidney.
I had been trying to go to Taylor for years. I mean, I did see her once before, but it was back when she like first came out, and I wasn't
Hmm.
trying to see her. It was actually how I discovered her, for myself. Um,
Right.
I went to a Rascal Flatts concert. I think it was like 2006 or something.
Hmm.
I went to a Rascal Flatts concert and she happened to be opening up and I didn't know who she was. And I was like, "Who is this girl?" Like I like the songs and so I looked her up and I was like, "Oh." So from debut album on, I've been a Swiftie and it's just crazy to look at that, that performance when I saw her and like watch her grow up. And I know for
Yeah.
you with Madonna, even though she was a grown woman and all of that, still like
Hmm.
kind of feeling, I'm sure you probably feel like you've kind of like watched her grow, even if it wasn't,
Yeah.
from a young person to a adult. But
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's wild to me, first of all, to like look at um I don't know, things like when I don't know, like who's that girl, for instance, that was 1987,
mhm.
and then Blonde Ambition was 3 years later, and then the pointy boob, the Godier corsets and all that. It's just like it's so
Mhm.
weird to see such a dramatic change just like a couple years later, and it's like holy crap. I'm like, and just from when she started and how she was just
Mhm.
very like street and very fishnets and uh the rubber bracelets and all that, and the
Yeah.
ratty hair, and then I don't know, but I don't know, and then she evolved, and then what just like was the most amazing, I guess, is just when she did Evita and then got
Oh
pregnant and
yeah.
then had her daughter, and then the whole ray of light and just everything just shifted and just for the
Mhm.
better. Um, because it's like you look at she's got that documentary Truth or Dare, which is the Bon Ambition tour in 1990, and then
Mhm.
like she did a sort of follow up in 2004 called no 2005 actually called I'm Gonna Tell You a Secret, and it's more about her and her spiritual side, and just like it's so wild to see the two different versions of her.
Right.
Um, because like she was a total bitch. She was, I mean, she can still be, I'm sure, but it's just it is nice to see people evolve. It is nice to see people grow and learn, and rather than just stay the same. I mean, some people it works. Some people just like that, and that's some artists just play it safe,
Mhm.
and then some just like I don't know. It's always weird to me. Like I used to really really like Sarah McLachlan,
Mhm.
um, and mainly like her first three albums, but mainly the Fumbling Towards Ecstasy, and then she just turned very adult contemporary blah. I don't know what happened. And the same with like Nelly Furtado. Like her first two albums were amazing, and then she worked with Timbaland, and everybody knew who she was, and she got all like,
Uh-huh.
you know, uh, I don't even know what R&B ish, I guess. I don't know, and it just like I was like, I don't like her anymore. I liked when she was folky and doing the Portuguese stuff. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
sometimes you can grow in the wrong direction, I suppose. I mean, but if it works for them, then fine. I just
Yeah.
feel like sometimes you sell your soul to be popular. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't even mean to do that because I wound up unknowingly. That was a quote from the popular song with the Weekend and Madonna. That was an accident.
See, it's just ingrained in your memory, that's all. That's like me and The Office is my favorite show. And so
Yeah,
sometimes I just say things and it ends up being from that and then I catch myself and I'm like, "Oh, that's from The Office." And I don't mean it.
I
It's just
know.
'cause, it's in there. It's ingrained.
Yeah, I know. I quote things all the time, and then I have people on the daily go, "What's that from?"
Uh-huh.
'Cause a lot of times when something bad happens or something scary or whatever, I just go, "She chose down," and people are like, "What is that?" I'm like, "That's from Labyrinth." And like that's just me saying, well, you made a bad choice, something bad's gonna
Yeah.
happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm really bad with movies that I know and love, especially because
Mhm.
like I quote them a lot. Like we watched Christmas Vacation the other night, and I just sat
Oh,
there
so good.
quoting the whole thing, and then they were watching Adam's Family Values last night. Oh my gosh!
Mhm.
Like I had to go, meet my friends for a drink, but I sat there and ate something and quoted it. And I love that one especially because of Joan Cusack.
Mhm. Oh,
I
yeah.
love Debbie Jellinsky. It
Yeah,
makes the movie.
with Christmas Vacation, I did like a watch with me episode with some of my other friends who also have a well, they used to do a podcast, but now they just kind of solely do a YouTube channel. And
Mm-hmm.
so we just like them over at their house and me at my house. We just, got on like a call like this and we both just started the movie at the same time and just like talked during
Mm-hmm.
it, which was just cool, because we all liked the movie, and yeah, it's definitely a staple for me. During Christmas time, I definitely had like a crush on Chevy Chase when I was younger. I was definitely a Chevy Chase girl. Um,
Yeah,
so so yeah, I definitely I get what you're putting down there. I do love that one.
yeah.
I used to quote The Breakfast Club like nobody's business because
Oh
I was
yeah,
watching it so much.
yeah. See the bull, you can get the horn.
Yeah, yeah. With
Yeah,
I'm
I
like doing the hand, doing
I
the
know.
hand while you're
Well, my
saying it.
my favorite part, and they did it like verbatim and on the Not Another Teen Movie, is
Mhm.
the when she's like Molly Ringwald's nothing. Tom. But I thought it was great when they did that in the parody movie, and I was like, oh my god,
I
yes,
had that
Pam, much for that.
DVD. I
Yeah.
had that D I had that DVD.
Mhm.
I used to watch that a lot back in the day. Not
Yeah.
another teen movie, so
Yeah. Um,
ah.
It's just funny though because it's like I get older and I look at some of these movies and I'm like, I hate I hate using the term problematic because I feel like it's overused, but there are parts of
Hmm.
some of these movies like 16 Candles and I'm like, oh
16
God,
Candles. Yep. And I used to love that movie. Yeah. Some of them,
it's
when you're grown and you watch, you're just like, oh,
yeah, it's
mm,
so good, but it's a bit it's
mm.
racisty. It's date rapey. It's
Yeah.
yeah, just hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's just, but I mean, it was obviously a different time. I mean, and I think back to stuff that we watched as kids, and then we make fun of, and I I'm like, oh God, like Police Academy, where they had
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
where the Blue Oyster or whatever, the gay leather bar, and like
Yeah.
how the gays were
Yeah.
always a joke, and I don't know, it just,
Hmm.
and I even remember my mom, like she used to make fun of Steven Tyler, and she would call him the fag in the lace pants. And it's just like it at the
Oh.
time I was like ha ha ha, but I was like oh. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
jokes on you. You got a gay son, okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
she,
there's
she
there's
got
some
she got
stuff.
better towards the end. I know, but
Well,
it's just
that's
funny.
good. Yeah,
It's
there's
funny
definitely.
how.
Mm,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, 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 you go
Yeah,
ahead.
I don't even. I lost my train of
So
thought.
you
I don't know.
lost
It's
it?
just
Sorry.
no. It's fine. My train is not running today, so it's fine. I'm hungover, admittedly.
Yeah, there's definitely, like you said, problematic things.
Hmm.
Some I feel like we're going a little bit too hardcore on, like
Oh yeah.
The whole Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer thing. How
Wait,
they
I
were like
didn't.
wanting to. Okay, yes. So
I,
they were
I don't.
wanting to cancel Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because of bullying, because
Oh
of his
my
red
God.
nose. So then I was like,
Oh my
okay,
God.
that's a little much.
Yeah,
That
but there's a
that.
lesson in it. It's not like, that's the problem because it's like you can't cancel and take everything out because how the fuck are you
Mhm.
gonna learn? It's
Right.
like I don't
Exactly.
want anybody to go through the shit that I went through as a kid, but
Mhm.
however, I'm strong as fuck because of that. So it's like, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
there's something to be said.
Yeah. I feel like exactly like what you just said. Um I feel like how it needs to be is each thing, watching it and telling, like, if you're watching it with your kids, your whatever,
Yeah.
younger people, you just kind of say, hey, so we're gonna watch this. There are some things in there that, aren't the best, but we're
Mhm.
learning from it, and we can talk about it and whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of just removing all of it and pretending that it never happened.
Yeah.
Because yeah, then we're not going to learn, because somehow along the way they're going to still hear these things or see these things. I mean, we're seeing it all the time with things that are being told to young people to shape their minds into being hateful. So we can take
Mhm.
everything out of movies and shows and it doesn't matter, because if they go home and people are still hateful, then they're still going to learn hateful things
Oh
regardless.
yeah. Well, it starts
So,
at home.
mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's where everybody learns it, and you're taught that. And it's just so funny to get older and be an adult and realize like everything that you were taught, and you just kind of shake your head and go, "Wow, okay, well it's time to unlearn that." It's just like I was talking with John about, um, people saying that that drag queens and such are grooming children. I'm like,
Ugh.
it's the other way around. I was raised to be heterosexual. I was told what I was supposed to be. This is it. And so that's what the world does. That's what society does. And it doesn't even stop there. It's just so many different things. And so you get older and you're like, huh.
Right. Like
So
if
we're just gonna go in a different direction.
yeah, like if a drag queen, let's say it did happen. Let's say if trying to teach a child to be a certain way, that's that particular person. That is not the entire
Hmm.
community of drag queens. Any person, regardless of how they present themselves and who they are, they could be a bad person. So, yes, it could happen theoretically, but that's not representative of the entire community at all, you know?
Yeah.
But so it's just ridiculous, these people that keep trying to push these things on young people and really people of all ages, because there's people who are still trying to push people into closets that they don't belong in.
Hmm.
No one should have to be in a closet. If you're a bad
Yeah.
person and you murder people, you should probably be in a space that doesn't have a closet and has some bars. There's that. But,
Yeah.
like, no, it's just ridiculous.
Well,
Unfortunately, and I we talked about it before, like where I live, there's a lot of just BS going on. So I'm pretty
yeah.
frustrated, but hoping for better days for everyone, because it's just stupid.
I don't know. I just uh, and the thing is that the people. It's always the people pointing the finger and being the loudest that are usually the guiltiest.
Mhm, mhm.
So
The
I'm
people trying to
like,
accuse other people of bad things are the
mhm,
ones doing bad
yeah,
things a lot. Yep, mhm.
yep, yeah. It's sad, and it's a weird world to live in. I mean, there are definitely a lot of good things about it, and I see
Mhm.
so much progression, but then
Mhm.
we're not at all where we should be.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been like lately I
one,
feel like it's been like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
yeah, and then I'm just nervous about the election.
Mhm.
Uh, but anyway, that's speaking of horror.
I know, right? That's one of the reasons why I love like Get Out so much. So when you see
Yeah,
that, we can discuss it. But yeah, there's definitely some, and even in Us, we can talk about that because you've seen the movie
yeah,
Us. But
yeah,
there's definitely some horrors of the reality kind
yep,
in there. Um, and I don't know. I hope for better days for all of us, and we'll see
yeah,
we'll see what happens. I don't
yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know. Every day I just wake up and I'm like, "Oh, hopefully today's a good day," you know? Like,
Yeah,
it's all
yeah.
you can do. It's all you can do right now.
Well, I know. I mean, I'm just gonna keep on doing, and hope
Yeah,
to
keep on
God things
trucking.
will hope to God things will right themselves. I mean, well, that's terrible. Nothing will right itself. You have to, be aware and motivated and help push things in the right direction. Because that's complacency is how we got into this mess in the first place.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and
So
tying it back to artists, like we said, sometimes they speak up on things and that works out really well. And I know you've talked many times about Madonna and how she speaks up for the communities that she cares about, and that's
hmm.
awesome. I definitely think that there are more people who are famous who could do the same and do a lot.
Yeah,
Giving their money, giving their time, speaking from their platform, not just saying
hmm,
like, "Hey, donate your money to this fund," instead like
yeah,
actually donating some of their money because they have a lot more
yeah,
money than we do. Um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like you said,
Hmm.
educating people. So hopefully more of that will come.
Yeah. I don't know. It has to, because we're just gonna, as a civilization. I mean, like I watched during the pandemic, we watched Idiocracy,
I've seen that. Yep.
and I was just like, wow, it's really not that far from the truth.
Yeah,
That's
which
where
makes it a
that's where we're
scary
headed.
movie. Which makes it a
Yeah.
scary movie. That's why I said that's a scary movie. And we are like, "What are you talking about?"
Hmm.
I'm like, "That's a watch it and pay attention. That's a scary movie."
It is, because it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little,
Oh well,
uh, yeah,
I don't know.
and that's why I'm happy. Like when I get to talk to people who are creative and who are open-minded and
Hmm.
do use their brains, because I feel like there's just a lot of people out there that aren't. They're just turning their brains off and just whatever a certain person says, they're like, okay, then I
Yeah,
guess that's how I feel. And it's like, no,
yeah,
no. You gotta you gotta use your brain. Use your brain.
yeah. I know. I've just never cared for that, and the only time I don't like using my brain is when I'm about to go to sleep because my brain is so overly active. So I have to
Yeah.
watch fluff. Like I'll watch like, some silly like sitcom.
Mhm.
What is it? Oh, I started rewatching Living Single, which is a fun show.
Oh, yeah, I used to
Um,
watch that back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then of course I watch my Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh, I can't do that one. See, that is I can do horror movies all day.
Mm.
Dr. Pimple Popper? No. No, I can't. I think for me it's like a reality versus I know this is fake. You know, like with
Yeah,
Dr. Pimple Popper, I'm like, "Ew, that's real. That's not FX. That's no, that's
yeah,
real."
yeah. It's just I don't know. It's just fluff for me. It's just like I don't have to think about it. I can just watch that happen. I'm like, okay. Um, and some of it, I mean, I haven't been watching it as much because I think I got to like
Mhm.
season 5, and I'm like, okay, how many more, this and things can they get into?
Yeah,
Um,
that's kind of how I am with the reality trash, you know, like your
ugh,
90 Day Fiancés and whatnot. I can just
mm,
have it on and it's like if I'm paying attention to it, cool. If not, whatever. It's just in the background. But like
yeah,
for sleep, sometimes I do the brown noise and
mm,
that helps me a lot if I can't get my brain to just power down and get ready for sleep, then I can do that. I even use it sometimes if I'm just really anxious,
mm-hmm,
just to kind of calm everything down because sometimes I get, you know, panic attacks and whatnot and all that fun stuff. And I'm like, okay, I gotta figure something out. I gotta chill myself out. So
yeah.
sometimes that helps out a little bit. So
I just put on my fan, and I have the ceiling fan on, and
hmm
then a fan on the nightstand or whatever, and usually drug myself to sleep.
yeah, my
It's
husband
either
always has to have the fan on.
yeah, yeah, same.
Yeah, yeah.
Way like there are certain things that are like deal breakers. Like the fan is a requirement. I cannot date or marry or what have you anyone who snores.
Oh, well.
Um, because I'm a light sleeper and I cannot
Uh-huh.
like that will there's just no way and you can't always be the first one to fall asleep and it'll wake me up and
I so in my situation, sometimes he snores, not a lot, but sometimes, but then we also one of our two dogs, the bigger one, she likes to sleep in the
mm,
bed with us and
mm,
she
mm.
snores.
Oh goodness.
So so occasionally I have two snoring, or one, and so I wake up and I'm like, "Oh, this is great." And then I just try to go back to
Yeah.
sleep, or that's when I put on my headphones and do the brown noise, but I
Hmm.
know that it's rough. It's rough when you're a light sleeper.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I hate like sleeping in like hotels or like sometimes like I love my sister to death, but like she does she will play stuff or like, sometimes she'll listen to like podcasts or like have the TV on and I cannot go to
Mhm.
sleep with the TV on at all. It has to be dark, it has to be quiet. And I get it, that's just me, but
Mhm.
it's after so many years of just having really terrible issues with sleep. I'm like, the
Yeah.
little bit of sleep I can get, I would like to have it.
Mhm. Mhm. That's not too
And
much to
it's
ask.
yeah, and it's not sound sleep either because I always toss and turn. I don't know how to stop
Mhm.
that. Everybody's like, "Oh, get this pillow or do that or blah blah blah," and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, yeah, no, it's still all the time." Um, mm. I remember my ex used to do that. Like he had a little bit of like restless leg syndrome where he'd like kick in his
Mhm.
sleep, and I was like, "Well, that's
Oh.
wild." I mean, not like me, but like kind of like
Oh, good.
raise
I'm
his foot
glad not
up.
you.
No, no, it never got violent. It almost did once, and that was enough. Yeah, we got into a big fight. And like it was all dramatic. It was raining, and I followed him out, and he was,
Oh.
and I stood in between him and the car door, and he was like, if you don't move, I'm going to punch you. And I was like, okay. And so I moved.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. I don't miss any of that.
well, and I was listening to one of the more recent episodes, and you were kind of talking about how you feel as someone who's single and wants to be in love and wants to find someone, and then people tell you
Mhm.
like, well, don't look and this and that. And
Yeah.
I've been with my husband for a really long time, since 2008. So I've been out of the
Mhm.
game for a really long time, but I do have some friends that are single and friends that have been single for a really long time.
Mhm.
And I think the point that you made when you were talking about it was really good for people here are in relationships and try to give advice about that. It's
Mhm.
it's like you can't you're not really in the place to give advice because you're not in that situation. And
Right.
I do think that a better way to approach that, and how I kind of try to do it, is just to say like, oh, well, I know that you've talked about maybe trying this or that. So if that's something you want to do, cool. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But just
Yeah.
coming from a more supportive standpoint
Yeah.
than like telling somebody what to do, because if you're not in their situation, you really shouldn't be giving them
Yeah.
advice about it. And I'm there with you. Like when you were saying, I do want to look. Like I do want to feel that. I do want to find that
Yeah.
person. And that's completely valid. I think if you just allow yourself to be disillusioned and just decide that you're just going to be in this bubble, and well, I'm not going to think about love, and I'm not going to do that. That's not necessarily the way to find somebody either, right? Because you
Yeah.
never know how it's going to happen, how that situation is going to come, and why should you close yourself off from that
Yeah.
potential possibility? So
Yeah.
i I love when you talk about those kinds of things, because it's something that I hear other people that I know, other friends that I have, saying these things, and I appreciate your honesty with that. And I can't wait to
Mhm.
hear, as the episodes go along, and as you talk to other people, and as our friendship continues, because I like to say, like, I'm something that will stick with you as long as you want. So as long as you want me around, I am there. So I can't wait to just continue hearing how that goes for you. And I really feel like if there is someone that fits well with you, that you're going to find them because of that soul you have. And it's something
Yeah.
like it may happen when you least expect it, or it may happen where you get set up on a blind date, or it may happen in any number of ways. But I
Yeah.
think that it's great that you're keeping your heart open, and you're keeping your eyes peeled, but also learning from certain things that may or may not have worked for you in the past.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean I'm terrible at choosing. Sometimes I get bored and I will give my friend like one that I trust my phone and I'm like, "Here's the dating app. You swipe for me. You do this, you drive." 'Cause but it doesn't always work, but it's just like and then the days of like being like set up or hooked up by friends, that doesn't really happen as much. It's weird, and but then it's like I feel like I'm surrounded by non-single people, and it's weird, and it's like you know you feel included, but you're still on the outside,
Mhm, mhm.
um, and then a lot of people are just like, oh god, I don't envy you at all. I'm like, well, I don't fucking envy me.
Right. Yeah, like either
um,
either way of the coin. Like if you're in a relationship and you go out with a bunch of single people, no matter how much they try to include you in the vibe, there's still a difference. You know?
oh yeah,
So yeah, of
yeah,
course, as a single person with a bunch of people who are in relationships, yeah, there's just a difference no matter how you try to swing it. And
yeah,
being whoever on whichever side you are, the opposite side, it is important to make your friends and people that you care about feel supported. That's To me, that's the
yeah.
biggest thing. you can't just tell somebody like, oh, like same thing with grief, right? Like when or grief
Oh
or
yeah.
trauma, like you lose somebody and the whole like, oh, well it's just it's going to get better and this and that.
Hmm.
Like you can't tell somebody how they're going to feel about
Right.
something like that. It's just you just try to be if you're a good person, you just try to be supportive and be there for them. Sometimes we say things and we don't mean to or it comes off a
Yeah.
certain way and you're just like damn, like after you say it, you're like, oh, that probably wasn't the best way to do it. But as long as you kind of like follow up with something that's more supportive, usually people will
Yeah.
forgive you for it. But
Yeah.
I will say, if you ever do get married, that wedding sounds spectacular. Like I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, this
And
sounds great.
it's not a, it doesn't have to be I would, it would be nice for
But
a
I
haunted
hope
castle in
so.
Ireland and all that, but like I at least want to walk down the aisle to an orchestral
Yes.
version of True Blue for sure.
Yes. I am
That's that's
clapping,
that's a deal
literally,
breaker.
yes. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, no,
For
I
sure,
just
yes.
need the groom. I just need the groom. That's all. I wish I could go to the husband slash boyfriend store. Maybe I should
Right? Just
invent
pick
that
one out.
too. Yes. Well, that would
There
actually
you
be
go.
probably prostitution. So, so that
Well,
I
mm,
know that would be
loopholes. Kind
that'd be a
of.
that'd be a fun idea for like a movie or a book or something. I'm very excited at the prospect of writing fiction because I've been writing about my life for so long that I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to write something fake.
Yeah. So I started writing one of my other friends that does another podcast. Um he's written some things and whatever. And I said, I used to write stuff. And he was like, you should write something. And I was like, oh, there's been something that bobbled in my head, just like a little piece, which is what usually happens to me, like a little
Hmm.
piece just floating. And then I have to add on to it. And I kept just putting it off. So I finally started writing some. It's kind of gibberish, but I'm going to keep trying and see if I can actually build from it. But I would love that. I think you writing fiction, like, would be great. The way that you are with what you already wrote and you said is not even edited really, like
Yeah.
I think I would love that. I think it would be great. I think you have a very creative mind, a very descriptive mind. I think you
Hmm.
would be the kind of storyteller that as you're listening, or if it was an audiobook and you were listening to it, or if you were just reading it, you would be able to
Hmm.
picture it in your mind. And those are the
Yeah.
stories that I love. And I think you could definitely do that. So
Yeah.
yes, please add it to the list.
I mean, I do have. I sound terrible. I'm like, I do have another book. No, I did because I it started for that what is it, the NaNoWriMo or whatever, the was it November's like National Writers Month or whatever, and
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
there's the challenge to like write something, and I forget how many like words it has to be. I want to say it's like
Mhm.
something not insane, but and then I just kept
Mhm.
going, and it was like a gay time travel thing, and it was really hard to write because it was there were three versions of the same character, and I know
Mhm.
that like I ignored the whole sort of butterfly effect thing, and like
Yeah.
I mean it was there, but I was like, well, but like so like there's one point where the character is in the room with his past self and his future self, and I was like, it's really hard to write dialogue for that because you have to like
Yeah.
this person's talking now, but it's the same person, and it was interesting to me because the future was definitely the uh, I guess most sarcastic because he was older and more I guess jaded and experienced. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was kind of fun. But then I painted myself into a corner and somehow because it was very just like stream of consciousness, and then I got to a
Mhm.
point
Mhm.
where there wound up being some like war or battle scene, and I just stopped because I'm like, I don't want to write that because it just
Yeah,
got weird and
sometimes
it took
shit
on a
does.
mind of its own, and I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
I don't know where this is going. Yeah, so yeah, and then you kind of take a break for a while. That's kind of what happened to
Yeah,
me is like I just started I was like in it and I was like, yeah, and I'm just typing and typing and typing. And then I was like, wait, where am I at? Like
yeah,
I lost
yeah,
myself. I'm like, where am I at? I said I'll come back to it. and I
I
haven't been
know.
back to it yet.
Yeah,
So,
it just got weird, and it was like there were so many nods to other things, like almost like bed knobs and broomsticks. Like I think the time
mhm.
travel was like with a ring, and it just like I don't know. It just there was a lot happening, and I was like, and but I didn't try and force anything. I just whatever popped into my head, I just started writing, and I was like, oh God, this is wild.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and maybe I'll pick it back up. And then I was worried too because like I titled it, and then Adele released a damn album, and one
Oh,
of the songs was my title, and I was like,
was the
girl.
title?
Yeah, it was when we were young, and but the we was like
Oh,
I referred to the we as the three, the past, present, and future.
uh-huh.
But then she released that single, and I was like, oh, well, I can still keep
Oh,
it. It's fine. But then
yeah.
everybody's gonna be like, oh, you named that after Adele song. I'm like, I didn't.
Uh, I mean, that phrase has been around before that,
Oh,
so
I know, I know. I mean,
I
and
know
maybe I'll
you
pick it
know.
back up, or maybe I'll do something different because I think what's interesting about writing fiction is that you can just make your own worlds.
Yeah, yeah, and you can
And
always, like you said, just do other things, and then if something comes to you and you want to continue the other one, then you can go
yeah.
back to the other one. I think that's really cool being able to just kind of sit there and just let it come out, and whatever
Hmm.
comes out, and then you can kind of figure it out later.
Yeah. Then sometimes I wonder too. It's like I need to just have people read whatever fiction I've written because I'm like I don't. I mean, it is possible that I'm not a good fiction writer. I mean, and I could just do better in reality. I don't know. But who knows? I mean, I'm still gonna do it because it's more for um my well-being. Like
Mhm,
all
mhm.
art and creativity are survival skills. Art and music and all these wonderful things are things that save you. And I would not be alive if it weren't for music, especially. I really need to get back into that someday, but that's another thing. Yeah, I used to I have an album. I never did anything with it.
Mhm. Yep,
Um,
I remember you said that.
yeah, it was all about the X too. It was all about good old Voldemort. No,
Well,
I
you know.
almost want to say his name, but I'm like, no, I don't care. Like in the book, like I don't
No.
name anybody. It's okay. His name's
Yeah.
Bruce. Ooh, there's there's
Yeah.
no way. And at this point, I don't care. And it's not like I'm villainizing him. That's the thing. You get older and you realize that nobody's the villain or the hero. Everybody's just trying to
Right.
do the
We're
best
all
they
just
can.
people. Yeah, we're all just people, and we're all assholes sometimes. Like, none of us are nice
Hmm.
100% of the time. We're just not. And
Oh yeah. I
part
mean,
of
I
that
I was
part,
awful. I was just saying I was awful when I was with him, so it's like I can admit that, which is hard, but like I was
yeah.
not at my best.
Yeah, that's one of the things I feel like as you get older is that you need to be able to see that, to see that there are times when you're not the best person either, because I can say that I haven't been in a lot of relationships in my life. The number is very small.
Hmm.
But I know that there were moments I had where I pictured myself as like the victim.
Yeah,
And then as time goes on and I look back, and then I'm kind of like, yeah, there was some really shitty stuff that person did to me and that they made me feel, but I also have to be cognizant of certain things that I did that
yeah,
didn't come off as the best and that weren't the best. And like you said, it takes a lot to be able to see that and to take that ownership,
yeah,
but it's something that we should do.
yeah. And it's interesting too because it's like just the thought of like or I guess the concept of somebody making you feel something, and I think about it more and more, and I'm like, it's affected you, but I don't know. And ultimately, you have the power to control how you're gonna proceed from there.
Mhm.
Because if you wallow in it and you let it eat away at you, and I think I've done that with a lot of things. I mean, I was like that with my breakup with my ex, I was like that when my mom died. I didn't celebrate
Mhm.
Christmas for like 15 years.
Mhm.
And it's exhausting. And it's just like, you have to eventually either pivot or take things in a different direction and just not wallow and not let it totally eat away at you, because it's like you just become kind of a terrible person after a while. Like, I know that there's been a lot of times where I'm sure I was not the greatest person to be around. And I mean, we all have our
Mhm.
moments, but you know, self awareness, I always say, is great, but it's what you do with it.
Mhm.
You can't just be like, oh, I'm aware, but I'm still going to be terrible.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm working on is that, you know, I have the anxiety and things to where I do get wrapped up in certain things in my mind, and then
Hmm.
that doesn't work very well in certain situations. My
Yeah,
battle right now is trying to fight my brain when my brain is like, "No, but you should be in that bottomless pit of
yeah,
despair. You should be no, see, when you said that or you did that, that was horrible." When I need to be telling my brain, "Okay, that happened. What are we going to do
yeah,
about it? How do we
right.
combat it?" So,
Hmm.
yeah, you're exactly right. You need to be accountable for that awareness and work on it and do something with it. So that's my current struggle, current battle
Yeah,
thing that
and
I
you'll get there. And
have
it's an
going on.
ongoing. It's an ongoing process. It's not like it's gonna be fixed automatically. I mean, it's like those
Mhm.
people that go to therapy and they do a couple sessions and they're like, I'm cured. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah,
It's all
especially
this
when something's
process.
ingrained in you. When
Yeah,
something's ingrained in you and you've been that way for a really long time, it's definitely not a quick fix, and it will always be there with you. It's just you have to learn how to handle it and how to
yeah,
combat it. So, yeah, for sure. When I hear, stories about things and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, and now I'm fine. Everything's great."
yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
"Oh, well, like, how long have you been figuring that out and doing this?" And like, "Oh, not that long." And it's like, that's probably gonna come back.
yeah.
So,
I can't
yeah.
remember where. I just remembered a quote, and I think it might be from the Wally Lamb book. Um, I think it's from The Hour I First Believed. I love his books except for his last few. Um, but anyway, but it's was it better to light a candle than curse the darkness?
Oh, I've seen that quote before.
Yeah, I don't know where it's
Yeah.
from. I think it might be him or some, but that's just what it makes me think of. That
That's a
idea,
good
just
one.
to, instead of wallowing and being in that pit of despair, it's like, light a candle and bring some
Mhm.
brightness and joy and something happy.
Mhm.
And it's easier said than done. I mean, we've
Yeah.
all been there, and I've been guilty of it too. It's hard to get into a funk, and I think
Mhm.
that that's what I'm trying not to do, because it's like I'm done with that job, and I'm unemployed again, and I'm like, here we go.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. Like, I know that I'm definitely a survivor, and I'm able to, you know, deal with the punches or what have you. And so it's like it's gonna be fine, but then there's always that like anxiety and that kind of like, okay, where am I gonna channel my emotions and where are we gonna go with this? So I think that the
Mhm.
podcast has been good too, because it makes me focus on something, and it gives me, it's like therapy kind of.
Oh, for
But
sure. I totally
for
agree.
me and for the other people, I mean, and it's like
Mhm.
a fun talk show.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because I finally, somebody like last night, they're like, "What's your podcast about?" And I said, "Well," I said, "it's everything and nothing." I said, It's wisdom through conversation. That's the best way I can describe it."
Yeah. And I
He
think
says with a smile and a wink.
I think that the setup that you have is great because it allows whoever's going to be on there to just kind of come in without any worry of having to know a certain thing or talk about a
Yeah,
certain thing.
yeah,
It's just whatever. You just come on and whatever you end up talking about, you talk about. And of course, before coming on, I have that little bit of like stage fright, so to speak, because I'm like, oh God, like what if I talk because you said, and you're gonna jinx someone. You when you said on the one episode how you were like, yeah, of course, at some point I'm gonna like talk to somebody, and then like we're not gonna talk
Oh
about
yeah,
anything, or the vibe's gonna be off. And I was like, oh my God,
yeah.
we've been
Is
talking
it
and
gonna
like we're
be
so
me?
cool. I'm like, we're talking and we're so cool. What if this time when we actually like record, I just shrivel up inside and say nothing, and then he's like,
Yeah.
okay, no, thank you.
Well, then I wonder sometimes too. It's like, well, am I gonna like stall and just not have anything to be like? I mean, because there is connection is it's easy and yet it's difficult. I think it just depends. But I feel like I have sort of scouted out people, and I've been very selective about it. And I mean, a lot of it, I choose people that I find interesting and that I want to get to know more. And then, like I said, I want to pour them out and build them up. And um, but I just feel like it's bigger than me, and I feel like that's also almost like a superpower is just being able to, get something from nothing.
Hmm.
That's why it's like I don't want to have it be preconceived. I don't want to ask people questions. Sometimes I'll think about one like right before I'm going to record. I'm like, okay, I'll try and remember, but I don't always.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but
for sure.
it's definitely more interesting, and this actually is one of the few episodes so that I will not have to Frankenstein together.
Oh, yay!
I know
Yay!
it's very exciting. Yeah, I felt so bad because the last one we recorded it was just too echoey and it wasn't we couldn't use any of it. And
Oh,
when we talked the next day, I was like, we're not going to talk about the same stuff. You're not because he kept
hmm.
referring to things that we talked about, and I was like, like it's a lot. So because it was very emotional
Yeah,
episode, and in a way, I guess it was good that it didn't come out, but um yeah, I just want to like I don't want to force it. I don't want to like repeat or well, let's do another take. I'm like that's just it's not real. There's just I don't know. I want it to be fly by the seat of your pants and just just talk and just
yeah.
you
And
know.
editing is a pain in the ass, even though, Anchor or Spotify for podcasters now, whatever you want to call it, they
Hmm.
make it pretty easy to kind of edit things, but it's still a pain having to edit. So the little bit of editing that I do for, usually I don't have to do it for my own, but I do end up doing it for the podcast that I do with a couple of my friends. Um,
Hmm.
we end up having to edit because either people will be talking about stuff that doesn't need to be included on there, or like somebody has some kind of noise in the background and we're like, what
Right,
is that? I don't
right.
know what that is, or whatever. But it's nice when you don't have to do that, because it does take
Yeah.
it does take time, and that's not
Yeah, and
the
it's
fun
not me
part.
being lazy. It's just I want it
No,
to be like as is, I suppose. Like
organic. You want it to be
yeah,
organic.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another word that I use a lot describing it. I'm like it's very organic. It's like and I have people that are like, well, what are you gonna ask me? What should I do? How should I prepare? And I'm like,
Right. Like
just talk, just talk.
don't get all in your head about it.
Yeah.
Just come in and talk about whatever. Yeah, my thing that I use a lot for mine is I say grassroots. Like it's very
Mhm.
grassroots. That's
Yeah.
that's my thing. But
So
yeah, I'm
do you want
go
to
ahead.
give your podcast a shout out either?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So
Because you have
yeah,
two, yeah.
I do. Yes, I'm a part of two. So the one that I do by myself is called Where the Weirdos Meet. And the one that I'm a part of with three of my other friends is called the These Ghouls Talk podcast. So it's myself and three of my other girlfriends. And so on the one that is my solo, I kind of mentioned how I just talk about different things with people. Usually things that maybe people could label as weird. But I also do like watch with us stuff. I
Yeah.
want to do. There's been episodes that I've wanted to do, like reviewing about Taylor Swift, um, Taylor's versions and things like that. But just different things that we love as people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then with the one that I do with the girls, we usually kind of talk about uh, just the horrors of real life. Um,
Hmm.
and just whatever comes up. One of my girls right now, today is her competition day. She does bodybuilding, so we should be having an episode coming out about her talking about that. I wish I was with her right now, but
Yeah.
one of the other girls is with her, so yeah, it's just
Yeah.
just different stuff. But yeah, I have those two um podcast, and my hope in the new year is to get more episodes in and talk to more people like you. Like I would love to have you on the one that I do if you would
Yeah.
want to be on
Totally.
there.
Oh
um
yeah. Totally. Totally.
but yeah,
It'd be.
just
It's interesting
seeing
because it's like I've been on other podcast. Well, I've been on one other podcast, and it's
on
like just
Ricky's.
the yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, like it's interesting how everybody's got their different ways of doing it.
Mhm.
And so like I respect it. I respect people that like edit it and have music and do all this and I'm just like this. I think for me the thing is like there's just no pressure and that's why I like it
Mhm.
because I feel like once there is pressure and once I feel like I have to, then I just might not do
Mhm.
it anymore because I think
Yeah.
it just takes the fun out of it. And um,
Yeah.
but I do definitely respect everybody and their podcast game, and it has been kind of
Mhm.
nice to talk to other people who have them and have them on, and um, it's fun. There's this like a bit of a community that I've dipped
Oh,
my
for
toe
sure.
into.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I was trying to think about earlier, like how I ended up um coming across um your your other Instagram, not your podcast Instagram, but the other Instagram.
Yeah,
And I was like,
same.
how did I was like, how did I come up? And I just think you fell in the algorithm and like
Yeah,
something came up of yours. And I'm like, that's crazy how that happens. But that has been like how some of it has, how I have gotten to know some of the other people in the
yeah,
community is just, through like either like liking their stuff and them liking mine and then talking to them or
yeah,
whatever. And it's just really nice to feel that community and that support, because whether you're only doing one episode or like you said, like really grinding and you're like putting in a lot of episodes and a lot of work, it's it's still, a piece of you that you're being vulnerable and you're sharing
yeah.
with whoever happens to listen. So it's nice to have other people to talk to and to learn from,
Hmm.
even if I may not, because like Ricky goes hard, like bringing up
Oh
Ricky
yeah.
for
No, Ricky's podcast,
hard.
the
He does the videos,
Rick
he does.
Retreat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does all of these different elements, which I'm like, that's
yeah.
badass. Like, that's amazing. But then I'm like, for
He,
me, I'm like, I don't think I don't have that level of hardcore
yeah,
dedication yet. But wow,
yeah.
if you haven't checked stuff, and I know that
Mhm.
Nick mentions him like on every episode, which is awesome.
I know.
But
I needed to pay him because he came up
yeah,
with the damn name.
right. But like check like spend some time and
I
check his
know.
stuff out because it's awesome.
Yeah, it's Rick Retreat podcast, and it's yeah,
Yes.
especially if you like horror and what does it
Yes.
call his people spookies? Hey spookies.
Okay.
I adore
Yes.
Ricky so much. He is so sweet. He came to Atlanta once, and sadly, like I guess he went for a wedding, so like we weren't able
Mhm.
to actually meet. But like I,
Yeah.
he's just great, and we talk a lot, and uh, yeah,
He's been very sweet in the conversation that I have had with him, the little bit that I have. Um, he's just been very sweet and very supportive,
yeah,
and it's like we just said, like both Nick and I said, his stuff is awesome. So,
yeah,
yeah, I'm like in my mind, I got a big old sign right now, and it's blaring with just music and big letters, and it's just like check it out. So,
yeah,
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 so check it out. But there's just a lot of people with amazing content, And even if there's
Mhm.
certain things that I don't personally think that I would use, I
Mhm.
love to, like what we're doing said, I love to share that with other people. And I think that, we're not celebrities, right? So our platform
Yeah.
only goes out to a certain amount of people usually, but
Yeah.
using that platform that you have to uplift other people and
Mhm.
to share what they're doing, it's what the community is about. Like there's been
Yeah.
people that have been on your podcast, and I've looked them up. I've been like, "Oh man, I got to check this out." So then now
Yeah.
I'm following them because
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because they were on your podcast, and like, "Man, this
Yeah.
is so cool. How did I not,
Yeah.
somehow
It just
hear about
takes
this person?"
one person, and then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's fun. And also, I like having other podcasters on here too, because I feel like it's almost like a break for them, because it's like they can just come on and talk. They don't have to edit. They don't have to put music.
Mhm.
They can just yak, and then that's that. So it's like a little vacation.
Yeah, yeah. So in the coming year, I do hope to be recording more often. I still feel like I'm not going to tie myself to any particular amount of time that episodes need to come out in, because I do think that before that's been kind of a burnout for me. And it's something that we're like trying to do with the other podcasts that I'm a part of, but there's also
Yeah.
four ladies and four and all of that. So the
Mhm.
people who do have multiple folks on a podcast and they're able to make that work, I love it. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Um, we're still kind of figuring that out. We're trying to stick to a consistent amount of time to get episodes out, but for my personal one, I really don't see that happening. I would like it to be more organic. And and like when something comes up and I'm like I want to do this, then I want to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be just coming up with content to come up with content and to push something
Right.
out because I need to.
Right.
Just like how you took that little break,
Mhm.
and
Yeah. It took a week
I
off.
thought that, yeah, yeah, I thought that was good because I'm like, okay, you have a little breather. You've been
Yeah.
working
Well, that
so hard. I
that
mean,
was the week of Halloween, I think, and I just needed to. I was like, I'm gonna go
yeah,
insane.
yeah, but some people will still do it. They won't let
Yeah.
themselves have a chance to breathe, and they will just push through it, and
Yeah.
then, it
I
I
did
get
feel
it.
bad about it, but because I've been doing an
No.
episode every single fucking week since like the end of July, so
I know, you're hardcore. Like I was like, "How, like that's amazing." And when you were
yeah.
like recording in your car, like on your breaks and stuff, I was like, "Wow, that is
Yeah.
that's amazing." That's why you have 300 listens. That's why you have
Uh,
300 listens, because you're churning them
yeah.
out. You're getting it out. But none of them, I will say that none of your episodes sound like contrived or sound like, oh, like they're just doing this to do it. Like all of
Yeah.
them are good. So it's all quality.
Yeah.
So,
Well, when it does, I guess when it does feel contrived, and that's when it's done. If I have to
right.
force it and phone it in, haha, no pun intended. I'm
Yeah,
phoning it in
no, but it's
now.
it's oh, um
Uh,
no, but it's great, and I'm excited to see like who else that you talk to. I think that's one of the really great things is I'm always like, okay, who's he going to talk to now? Like what am I going to learn about
yeah.
now? Both
Yeah.
from you and from whoever the
Right.
other person is, because I feel like there's always new information coming in about all different kinds of subjects because of all these people you talk to.
Right. I
And
know.
it's just really cool.
Sometimes I feel like I pester though, because sometimes there are people like I'm like, hey, just circling back around about podcast, and it's so I don't know, but it's usually just like trying to find time to like link up with people. I mean, now I have some
Yeah.
time, so it's going to be easier. I mean, because
Yeah.
I did the episode with John, and then so I recorded two this week.
Mm.
So I like to actually just record them and then just like have them stockpiled. That's where I got lazy though, because it's like, oh, I've got like three in the can, and then I was like, oh shit, like that it next week is coming. Gotta figure it out.
Well, and that's what I
So
said to the girls. I said, that might be something that we can do is record a few. So just kind of like if we have a good
mhm.
amount of time together, knock it out of the way, and then if stuff
Yep,
happens and we
yep,
don't have the time, we have something. So
yeah.
we'll see.
It that helped when I got super busy because I was like, okay, I got all these and it was all lined up. But then I should have done more. I should have just kept going. I don't know. Maybe in the new year, maybe I'll do like every 2 weeks. I don't know. But then I'd feel weird about not doing it every week. But we'll see. Who
You
knows?
do what feels good for you.
Uh,
That's the main thing, so you don't burn out.
oh yeah, because when it feels like a chore, that's also just time for a break. But and then I don't even know like well, what's considered a season? I'm like I'm still on season one, and I
Oh,
guess
I
you're
totally get that.
yeah, and I guess I'm on like your episode 17. I don't. That's so weird though. 17. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's good though. That's good though. But
I
yeah, that's
know.
okay. 17, that's a good song. So I'm cool with that. I like
Oh,
that.
of course.
Yeah. Yes.
Taking it
I love
taking it back
Stevie
to
Nicks.
oh, I thought it was Taylor Swift. Never mind. I know Stevie
She
Nicks,
has a
but
yeah, she has that was close. Taylor Swift has 15. So
oh,
that
15. Okay.
but you knew. Look at that. But you knew.
See,
You knew that it was numbers. You knew that it was close to that. So see,
because
look at that. You know your stuff.
yeah, that's because I have so many people that like her in my world. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't dislike her. I'm just very selective.
Well, my whole thought process is if you can give me like an actual reason that makes sense why
Hmm.
you dislike her as a person or you don't like her music or whatever, then I'm like, okay, cool. I can respect that. I am not the person who feels like everybody should like exactly what I like and all of that mess,
Right.
but the only time it bothers me is when people are like, "Oh, I don't like her because um she," and I'm like, "Exists?" Like
Mm.
is that your answer? Cuz I'm like if you don't have a reason at all, you just dislike her because you think you're supposed to dislike her, then I'm like, that doesn't quite make sense to me." But
Yeah.
if somebody really doesn't vibe with her music or doesn't vibe with her as a person or whatever and they give some kind of a reason, I'm like, okay, cool. Like as long as you say that you don't hate her and like you don't roll your eyes when I mention her, then cool. That's fine. um
Yeah.
but I love that you mentioned appreciating folklore and evermore, because to me I'm like, people who haven't heard those, I'm like, hey, can you please listen to those first before you form a solid opinion, because they're oh, I just had so my favorite word, I finally got it. So
Yay.
my favorite word is probably bewitched. I was like,
Oh,
what is the word
yeah.
I'm thinking for? I'm like, it's in the and I can't grab it. But
That's a good one.
yeah, bewitched, and then probably second would probably be prose. I just love prose.
Mm. Yeah.
Um and of course that's from Quill Pen
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Those yeah.
But but yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, now I feel like I've come full circle. 'Cause so I'm
I
like,
know.
okay,
We
I finally
it's
grabbed it.
perfect.
It was back there and I found it. So
I know.
yay.
That's wonderful. I think that's a perfect end to a wonderful episode, a bewitching
Yes.
episode, if you will.
Ooh,
I
very
know.
bewitching. It was such a fun conversation, and
Yeah, and I do look forward. I look forward to seeing what you're going to be doing with all your endeavors.
yeah, and we're
So,
still gonna talk. You're not rid of
of
me,
course.
so we're still gonna talk. I will allow other people to have episodes. They can't all I can't
Okay.
take 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22. But
Uh-oh.
I will be listening
Yeah,
to what everybody else comes up with. So it's been
yeah,
such a pleasure. I had so much
yeah.
fun.
I'm glad. It's been good.
Yeah.
I've just enjoyed like it just I feel like more enriched with each episode. Like I'm just like I just want to talk to everybody. I want everybody to be on the show.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
know.
said. And as someone who's listening, I just love hearing, you know, learning new things from other people. So I can't wait to see what the next one brings.
I'm in my Oprah era.
I love it for you. I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I will talk to you very, very soon.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Thanks.
All
Bye.
right. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
You too. Bye.